Graffiti is a part of the city, something like an error in the matrix, the chaos in the order. Every city got a system. The system tries to bring order in the chaos. It tries to cover graffiti. To me, graffiti is a mirror of the darkness in the mentality of a city and their citizens. I learned to read mentalities of people through their pieces, which has a lot to do with how and where they grow up. You can tell what someone's motivations and ideas are. Graffiti exists not against the system, it exists as part of the system in order to survive. Pretty much like rabbits living in the burrows, only coming out to eat and take care of their daily business. They have to be smart and always aware of the environment, because the whole world is their enemy. Even though I didn't grow up here, graffiti-wise, the city has raised me. I have learned from it. I've learned how this city works because I understand its mentality, even if it took me a while. This city taught me how to survive as a graffiti writer. It taught me to understand how far I can go and how much I can do with what I actually want to do. My art is what moves me, and that's what keeps me motivated. And I've learned to stay under the radar and to disappear into the deepest depths of the Burrow. But yeah, there are still some things I will never understand. Maybe that's what keeps it interesting. I personally learned to appreciate everyone's way of doing what he loves to do, and I'm always happy to see some fresh paint. I always wanted to see how all this works in other cities, in other systems. I wanted to experience how other rabbits live and survive. One day I started to move without knowing what kind of madness was lying ahead of me. After 15 years of being active, some of my friends and me, we grew into a huge network. A constantly growing network of people who have similar motivations to paint and live our lifestyle. Traveling has become very important in graffiti and in any other urban art movement. And that's what keeps this network alive. It fills it with fresh energy. It's an energy that makes borders of countries and cultural commitments disappear. It binds.
Vienna is a big playground, still, because it got this very own and unique flavor compared to other cities of Europe. The Viennese way, the middle way, it's just, okay, graffiti is there, but it's not too big, so maybe we can like it in kind of way. And if you try to not push it that hard, you can still make a lot of damage and enjoy it. And a big city like Vienna is always a playground. I mean, we started in country yards, paint country spots. I mean, it was fun, but a big city gives you the chance to go in every direction. The tourist way is always the easiest. It's fun. I can relate to it because nothing really happens if they catch you, and you don't have to care about the spot in a day, in a week. If you live here, you paint here, you care about your spots because you want to paint it more often. Sometimes people have in their mind the old stories where they just can hike in every kind of spot and everything is possible. Maybe it still is, but it's the tourist roulette. And of course there are some reasons why things change in a bad way, but I don't know, that's how life moves on. That's part of the game. 10 years ago, the situation was maybe predictable, and now I cannot really say what's going on in the yards, so I have to change my way of painting. If I paint street spots, I'm still doing it the Curtis way since the last years. That doesn't change. You can easily paint some cool spots in Vienna, but maybe they are gone the next day. But if you have a good eye for the spots, they last years and decades. That's the fun thing about Vienna. It's also a fun thing how people buff here sometimes. Just clean the house and leave the painted window. It's part of Vienna. That's funny, that's strange. I need the different spots, I need the line spots, I need trains, I need tunnels, I need streets. If I have to choose only one thing, maybe I would stuck in the streets, which I know wouldn't be that good for me, because if I have a six-pack with cans, I just go home if the six-pack is over. And if I would do this every day, it wouldn't be that good for me. And for the city as well. So the balance is very good. And sometimes I ask, or I wonder, why is this stupid graffiti thing so funny for such a long time? And sometimes maybe it's not so interesting to find the answer because it's so funny. So I don't think I will disappear, because I still like to see my graffiti, and I like to go to work and see street tags, and I like to take the train to work and see my line pieces, or sometimes even drive with my train to work. So that's fun. The law is very different compared to other cities. The whole system is kind of weird. And when it comes to graffiti, it's also kind of weird, because they can charge you and they can put you in jail just for a hint. That's not possible, for example, in Germany. If you have a mellow and relaxed charge, you're good. If not, the whole thing can really change in a bad way. So if they catch you and if they want to charge you, you need a good lawyer. The Austrians do it like one time this and one time that. And if not in this way, we do it the other way. And if the people say it's not right, we do it anyway. That's a bit Austria. I like to go out by myself very much, because it's kind of freedom, and it's kind of soak in the city in a very unique way. And if you're out by yourself, nobody is disturbing that moment. And Vienna in the night is very exciting and makes a lot of fun. And the atmosphere is great. And sometimes I just go out because I know my friends, they are not motivated to paint that stupid spots. So I just hit it by myself, because it's cool to be a little bit stupid.
Detroit has, you know, this unbelievably rich history of culture. You have Detroit techno, you have Motown, you have punk rock, Iggy Pop and the Stooges, MC5, Madonna, and then you have white rappers, all right? Musically, it's rich, and I think that artists pull from the same inspiration that the musicians do, which is this bleak, abandoned, forgotten landscape. And there's something about being in that makes you want to create something. Visually, it's a really scary place, right? You see these like skeleton buildings, you see smoke coming out of the manholes all year round, homeless people everywhere. But you don't realize that it's not necessarily dangerous, it's just ugly.
What's so unique about Detroit is its distressed environment, which is these vacant buildings and empty plots of land and abandoned churches and theaters. Those are really what drives the spirit of creativity in our community. People look at us and say, well, Detroit's dead and the automotive companies have left. But what's left there is an aesthetic that's really desirable to an artist. The texture, the smell, the grittiness of it is awesome. It's inspiring. And that beauty resonates with artists. When you place a mural inside of a vacant theater where nobody's around and you have to go with flashlights and the fear of maybe somebody with a gun jumping out of the closet there, I think it's exhilarating. It's exhilarating to climb into these buildings. It's exhilarating to explore the urban scrawls that have been left behind, the graffiti that's been there for 20 plus years. And when you walk through these buildings, you can almost see the ghosts of the past. Thousands of workers making a decent living wage and building the middle class. And these aesthetics in that exploration is really what art in the public domain is about.
The city has a history of corruption. The last mayor, the player mayor as they called him, is in jail right now. And everything from the school system to the police system is completely corrupted because if you want something, you gotta pay someone above you to get it. And now the entire city's bankrupt. It's, you know, a horrible state of affairs. And there's so much pride in that city. Almost more than New York, more than Boston. Like the fucking D is a powerful symbol there. THAD, the D, you know what I mean? The Heidelberg Project was started by a black Detroit artist named Tyree Guyton. He hated the crack houses that were popping up everywhere, so he started painting giant polka dots on the fucking crack houses to bring attention to them. He painted like 10 city blocks covered in polka dots. He basically turned this entire city area into an art project that had so much attention on it, the crack dealers just had to move on. And he took that and went overboard and started wrapping trees with shoes, houses with stuffed animals completely covered with them. And all the junk discarded by the city became art. And Detroit's trying to bulldoze it. They don't get it, they don't understand. But he's like 60, so no one really considers him a street artist. But it's like a funny story Dr. Revolt told me about in the 80s in New York City. One of the most prolific graffiti writers was a girl named Prey. She used to write this shit fucking everywhere, and no one knew who it was. And it was a little old lady. And it was like the craziest revelation when everyone found out it was a little old lady. But anyway, so he's kind of like that. It's not the typical kind of street artist.
The best thing about painting graffiti internationally is that you're not the only one doing that. By coincidence, an artist I have known for his work for quite a while was staying in an apartment next to me, and I was dying to paint and collaborate with him.
I think it's just easy, you know?
It is easy, it's just circles.
So I think that would be the whole wall. And now is the question, should we just paint on top of the
Throw ups?
graph, and just leave them?
Yeah.
Maybe blow them away a bit, you know, like just
Fade them maybe,
fade
because
them.
that way it looked like a background, and then we could also do a drop shadow if
Yeah,
you want.
yeah.
Like she's actually running on the block,
Yeah,
and then you tore the can away like you
yeah.
do.
It smells like spray paint.
Beautiful downtown. I love downtown artwork. Everything is marvelous, beautiful. These guys is doing a beautiful job, and I just love their work.
Coming to Detroit for me is just kind of like a little holiday. And to work with the people I have, it's magical. It's like a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's something that my entire career has led up to. I'm having a good time out here. Well, in a lot of places in America, well, especially on the West Coast, penalties are really harsh. Out here in Detroit, it just seems like it's a place that obviously has a love-hate for it, but at the same time, a world of opportunity for artists. I think that you find in any situation, in any city or any place around the world, that when you have no other choice, that it brings out things in you that you'll do or wouldn't do, in maybe some other place or situation. And it breeds creativity.
Yo. Morning. Good morning. How are you? Did you get your stuff done for Juxtapose?
No.
Did you see Hypebeast picked up the story too?
No?
This is the video.
Really? It is. Bit more to do, but on my own, just have to change the app. That works out. Can do a couple of things. See what cool drop shadow it gives you?
Yeah. Oh, you're looking at the shadows.
Yeah.
The cool thing about working with One Time Rum was that I was able to go wild with my ideas, and I had full support. Anything I had in mind, the boys tried to help me getting it done. Working on my show was very time consuming. It's especially hard to concentrate when there's a whole new world out there to explore. But my nights were very inspiring. I had a pretty good run. As much as I loved working on the show, I could not wait to get out there, to paint as much as possible, and enjoy Detroit also in bright daylight.
Standing in a circle, waiting for a miracle. Standing on a corner, waiting for a warning. money in the world. Crying, let the jump and shout. Deep within, you're deep without. My baby, about to jump and shout. Deep within, you're deep without.
Love it here.
All the money in the world. All the money in the
Stop these numbers. Look how beautiful this is. Everybody, thank you for coming out. We got everyone together right now. Everyone be respectful of pedestrians and cars. And everyone have fun. Let's go! Let's go!
Traveling through Europe, especially in the German-speaking area, made a lot of friends, and a couple of them are very special to me. Not only because they are friends, but also because we have similar motivations and ideas, and also affinities in style. But what mostly fixes the bond between brothers is humor and some kind of weirdness.
Now, if you see some guys with spray cans in Eastern Market, don't assume they're up to no good.
And they came a long way to create new art. Jason Carr gets weird for tonight's Fox Focus report.
Bearded bicycling dudes are an undeniable part of Detroit's landscape now, but these particular fellows are not out for a jaunty ride. They're looking for a wall to paint.
In our neighborhood, Eastern Market, there's a history of murals that have been there since the 60s and 70s. So we thought it'd be really cool for Nichos and the Weird to come and put their spin on what they perceived was the neighborhood and their experiences in the neighborhood and create these really wild, wacky, and weird murals. What we didn't think was going to happen was all the media was going to show up. Fox 2 News and NBC and the local papers and the weeklies and all these fans and bloggers, and people were just like, what are these people doing here? They're in Detroit, why? And they were like, just to paint a mural. Because we have so many different cultures, people are receptive to new ideas and new cultures coming in and exploring that. We just continue to rock out murals. We rented these big lifts because the snorkel lift wasn't really cutting it, and they just jam.
It's so good. Look at this. It's good. I could never draw like that. You know what? In the long run, put it out in the world. This guy got good potential. Please do. All right? And tell him them blue eyes will get him paid. All right, my brother. God bless you. I see you later. All right, man. Thank you.
I am an old school techno fan, and this kind of music was invented in Detroit. I always wanted to go there for a typical Detroit techno party. It was really cool to be in that city with a weird crew, painting these large walls and hanging out together and drinking American beer.
Luckily, didn't have to care where to get our material, so the only thing was where to paint. And therefore Detroit is a kind of paradise. Yeah, we just move around, checked some spots out. Every now and then we asked if we can paint there. That was crazy, it was like a fire. Starting very tiny in the first days, and after 2 weeks, every hour new cars came by, new people stopped. Hey, I've seen you on the TV, are you the weird? It was sick.
We wanted to go like to 3 or 4 different places in the US. We cancelled every plan and just chilled in Detroit because we had so much opportunities over there.
They call me Mopar Bruce. Yeah, I wish you guys could be my bus, man. You know what it's called? The Cool Bus, Motor City Cool Bus.
The Cool Bus?
Yep, the Cool Bus. I'm putting this bus in the world's largest car show. People from Australia, Germany, China, all kinds of people from all over the world come here for that show. It's located at 6 Mile and John R., the Roskilde of Dakota. They got German sausage, German beer, and I went in there and I sung German songs with them and that, man, singing along with them. That was a party, man, and the sausage is great.
In Germany, you have to discuss like for weeks to get a wall, and in Detroit it was like, okay, just talk to the owners of the shop for like 2 minutes or something, and that's it. Go paint.
It was so cool that we had the chance to live directly above the gallery space, and it was really like a class journey. Once again, everybody slept in one room on mattresses, and every day was so funny to go asleep together and talk bullshit all the time.
They didn't expect that we just do it for fun, but we said, okay, no, it's just for free. We're doing our graph holiday, and they were completely fascinated about the stuff which was going on there. We had some bikes to go to our spots, and the Americans said, no, you can't go by bike. Are you stupid? You don't want to get shot? And we just had no other chance because we didn't rent a car. Only cherry pickers. Yeah, that was it.
Alles tot.
And people, they really seemed to love it. I had the feeling that some of them, they were so excited and treated us like we really renovated the buildings, but we just painted some murals. So it was great to see that it brought so much fun or light or positive energy in that city.
They lost 3/4 of their population, and the size of the city geographically is humongous. It's like the size of Los Angeles, but with 700,000 people. Don't quote me on that, but it's under 1 million people. Imagine 20 square blocks with 10 residents. And you have to get power, water, fire department, police, to this huge area, so it bleeds them dry. You know what I mean? Because they have to provide all these services, but there's only a few people in 5 square miles. It's the first failed city of this country.
There's no arts programming. There's no funding for kids to learn about music and culture. And right now they're trying to sell our museum collection to pay corporate attorneys to run us through a bankruptcy from former corrupt policies. And then you just put art in the public domain. And you say, that's for all of us. And that's what artists do.
Just gotta step out of this madness. You're going crazy and you're taking us with you. Can't you stop for a moment and just breathe? No, the answer is no, I'm not going with you.
I really had my problems to understand that city, because it is a first world country, but having then a city run down like Detroit was really hard to understand.
There is a similarity to Berlin after the fall of the wall. For us as painters and graffiti artists, it's an interesting situation because we can find nice and interesting surfaces to paint on.
We had 2 guys who always drove us to that places, big German cars, black windows. I was like Navy SEALs going painting. Yeah, what can I tell you? It's always a really nice situation to go to abandoned places because you see how nature reconquers their place. It's like trees growing in the 5th floor, but there's also like a layer of the former house. You can see what happened 20 years ago. And then you come and do a new layer of paint over these old layers. The situation of the room just creates a piece.
Kill them, I say, kill them. Kill them, I say. Everything with kindness.
The Americans were really welcoming. And for myself, it was funny to see my German friends in a total different environment. But America is big, and there's many different Americas within America. Now it was time to move on.
Safety first. Did it blow the tube up?
Das sind Maildosen. Und die brauchen Female Caps. Und das gibt es bei uns eigentlich so gut wie gar nicht. This is pretty much just the same as the wall.
Yeah, it is. So we need to darken it with some. We need to go to the store and get some paint. So we need to get some brown mixed. I'll get that.
Is it full?
Should be. Fuck, I need to get the mixer. I have a mixer.
Rotsticht hängen. Dafür das schaut überhaupt nicht. Ui, das ist schon ziemlich voll jetzt. Trippy shit.
Yeah, you gotta do it slower or else it splatters around.
Oh, okay.
I'm wearing my pretty clothes. That's our policy at the gallery. Try to work smarter, not harder. I think this dirty pink is kind of where we're at, bro.
Yep, maybe it's a little bit more black, huh?
No problem. I'm running low on batteries though, so we should do it. We should do it now. Whatever you want. There's more black here.
Oh.
It should be. Actually, no, it's not.
What is it?
It's white. Cool.
Nice. So Steve's like, word. My buddy, he's gonna take a shower and head over to his barber shop, which is across the street from the mural, and see if he has a chair so we can cut his hair.
I came to San Francisco with no plan at all. And since I'm a lucky bastard, I have some friends who hooked me up with the right people over there. If there's a pot, I was able to get a huge wall in the Tenderloin district. The only thing I had to do now was to wait for permission. So what are you gonna do? Meditate over the idea? Or get a haircut across the street?
Hey Alex, it's Chris from Allspace. How you doing? It's pretty much the idea.
Oh, it was perfect. I loved the whole thing. Like the reaction to it was amazing.
Being able to paint this huge tiger that far in the center of San Francisco, a wall with this high visibility in such a short time of organization, was probably the best thing that could have happened to me.
The most unique thing I feel about artists working on such a large scale in the public domain for free. I mean, these murals are not paid for, and they're pretty much done on the dime of the artist. They have to put up the money to fly there. They have to put up the money to get paint. They have to find a way to get to the location.
So you're not painting my window? Ich sag, no, ich mal da Fenster nicht. What's with the others? They're okay. Oh, okay, but you're not painting my window. I said, no.
Doing this after eating an all-you-can-eat like fried chicken brunch is not easy.
It smells like paint now.
It's like fucking bullshit. Oh, he's coming up now.
Family walks by and stopped. Did you see that? Did you see that? Like a dad with like a bunch of girls.
It's coming around, coming back around. It's coming around, it's coming back around. It's coming around, it's coming back around. It's coming around, it's coming back around.
The Bay Area is magical. As someone who grew up in Styria, 2 hours south of Vienna, I feel very connected to this kind of landscape. the hills, and the mountains. I would almost say it looks like home, only with a couple of palm trees here and there, the bay, and the ocean. This place stole my heart immediately. The fact that the Lords, my other crew, is based in the bay, and the strong connection I felt standing up there caused that this would probably be the only other place I ever could call my home.
Los Angeles, that city has all these different undercultures. It's got lowrider, gangster culture, it's got surf culture, skate culture, all that shit. For me, growing up as a kid, the skate graphics of Pal Peralta skateboards, Vision Streetwear, and all these companies helped form my influence on art as a really young kid.
I was thinking for the background, for the white, I'm like gonna get the normal acrylic white to paint. Okay. So I have a smooth white background, just spray paint, just everywhere. I try to fill it in. It will look shit in the end.
Right, okay.
There was a crazy opportunity waiting for me in Los Angeles. Dissecting SpongeBob for Nickelodeon blew my mind. I always thought of myself as a character designer, and I always wanted to do cartoons or animation when I was younger. Unfortunately, living in Austria, you don't have much possibilities working as a cartoonist. Well, need some ice as well, I guess. This is so hot, oder? But since life goes how it shall go, I became an artist, which was probably the only way as an Austrian to get to this point where I am right now. And I couldn't believe to stand in Nickelodeon's backyard painting an artwork for them.
Ik zou ze weer een foto met mij doen. Wat is denn das, Marcus? Case.
I can't tell you where your heart is or the cold. I can't trade it for a bottle and a smoke. Cats like me, they already learn. People like you build it, and we make it burn.
You know, like LA is like a driving city, right? So you have to drive around and traffic sucks. So if you want to go see things, it's like a mission, right? But it's not even just like going to look at art. It's like, oh, I need to go like buy like a CD player. You know, and it's like even after living there, I lived there for 15 years. Like, yeah, I know where to get certain things, but some things are just like, where can I get this?
Cats like me, they easy to find. Just turn your back and get fucked from behind. And you live, and you die, and I don't give a damn.
So he's like, I'll give you guys the benefit of the doubt. You know, he's not going to arrest us, but he took my ID. And you know what? I saw him on my block today. Oh, no. I swear to God.
My name's Drast1, CBS crew, Lords crew. Lords crew, it's a lot like CBS, all around punk rock, skateboarder. We have DJs, we have like metal, like everything mixed, hip hop MCs, and we all just down to smash, destroy graffiti, you know, illegal and legal. Well, the CBS Lords Los Angeles San Francisco connection came about in late 90s. So it's kind of like a mutual north-south, west coast family type thing. The scenes are a little bit different up north. It seems a lot more carefree. Like in San Francisco, when I was tagging up there a long time ago, you know, get caught tagging during the day with a guy in a briefcase. He didn't jump on his cell phone or like, you know, try and like grab me or anything. He just greeted me like, oh, good morning. I was just like, holy shit, you know, this is weird. But, you know, two different worlds, two different mentalities, but it's kind of like a blend, like a mixture. I actually grew up in Canada,
right across the border from Detroit, a little town called Windsor, Ontario. Yeah, I never really got into graffiti till I moved to California in 1990. Driving around on the freeways, I'd see like the letters and stuff and the tags and the scribbling, and just related to like gang writing, like what the normal, quote unquote basic population would think. And then not till I actually met some of them, like at a metal show, these white guys with long hair and some skinheads and stuff like that, and we're just slamming around the pit, and I look over in like the alley we were drinking, the guy had a mean streak and he's like writing his name in that squiggly writing. I was like, "You're not a gangster," and he's just like, "No, man, it's graffiti, tagging and stuff. I'm trying to get up." And I was just like, whoa, like different types of people. And then I'd meet like other guys that would do it from different demographics, different styles, and like different mentalities, just down to like destroy and like smash and just like get their names up in color and stuff like that. And that was like the attraction to me. It wasn't just like gangsters it's a gang thing, it was just like kids out letting off steam, like fuck society, fuck everybody, this is myself, just because I don't have any money, fuck, I'll express myself. It's all about expression.
Boah, hätten wir das auch erledigt. So.
Bitte fahren Sie zur markierten Route. Nach 0,2 Meilen rechts abbiegen in den Middlebury Street, dann links abbiegen. Rechts abbiegen in den Middlebury Street, dann links abbiegen.
Ja, genau.
Yeah. Let me tell it for a minute. Yeah.
As soon as I got to New York, I realized that the 10-year anniversary show of the Wooster Collective had its opening the same week. The Wooster Collective runs a famous art blog, which means everyone was in town. So many artists I've always looked up to for a very long time. Most of them have been blogged by Wooster for the last 10 years. Today, most turned out to be well-grown urban artists. Some of them I knew already personally, some I've never met before. There was one artist from the younger generation, I've been watching, and it turned out that we kept missing each other in other cities and on other continents. But this time, we made it. Pretty much last minute. He's a Mexican artist named Smite, and he was more than down to collaborate. The only problem was, where the hell do a Mexican and an Austrian find a wall to paint in Brooklyn?
My family came here from Sicily to get a better life. When they moved here, the neighborhood had changed for the worse, and when I was about 11 or 12, my father was murdered by a drug addict who was trying to mug him. 2008, my mother got diagnosed with a brain tumor, and she ended up passing away. This neighborhood here, I grew up and was raised, everything reminded me of my mother, and I couldn't get away from it. I went on a lot of trips outside the country, and the first Mother's Day, I just couldn't. So I painted the walls white prior to it, and somebody came along within 6 hours and graffitied it. When I saw that, I got really upset, and I said, you can't really have anything nice and clean. I went on the computer and I Googled street art. I liked what they did, and I got in contact with them, and I told them what I wanted to do, and we did it. We painted 5 walls. We had a block party, and it was really great. Putting up art over the graffiti one by one felt good, and then it felt so good that within a year we had 65 murals up.
Yeah, those are the best fucking donuts in New York. Take one.
This neighborhood started to vacate when the factories started emptying out. Some other areas outside of Bushwick started to overpopulate and push some of the people out into Bushwick. Now they're living in the factories, they're living in these buildings. I didn't realize what I've done by doing this program. It's brought my community together, I think, more so than changed the neighborhood, because the neighborhood was already here regardless of whether we put art up on it or not.
I was a little kid, and like my earliest memory of graffiti was basically taking the train into the city, and every time the doors would open up, it would be like those big chalkboards. You know, you would see like Keith Haring pieces. Those were the ones that kind of like stood out for me visually, because they were so far apart from like everything else that graffiti was. You know, it was almost like graffiti was just like accepted and you didn't even look at it as an art. But when you saw something like Keith Haring, it made you kind of like pay attention to that this is real art. This is something that's, you know, could possibly progress into something else or inspire something else. Here in New York City, you're always working with other artists. And it's a good kind of like community scene where everyone's kind of like getting each other involved.
I moved to New York on a 5-year plan, thinking if I'm broke and I hate being here after 5 years, I'll just move on, go somewhere else. 4 years of fucking hell later, we start Kid Robot, and everything changed for me after that. Yeah, those 4 years are kind of some of my favorite years because I was living in Crown Heights. I wouldn't have any money, so we just walk around and paint. I had no money. I don't come from a family with money, so I knew I had to do it if something was gonna happen. And New York City can be a beast. You know, there's times when I'd be on a rooftop looking at New York City and I would see it as my enemy fighting against me. And then other times I'd see it as this woman that's just fucking the shit out of me lovely. You know what I mean? Like there's times when the city's so good to you, but it can rip that shit away really fast too. Yeah, I mean, I was in New York for 15 years and, you know, it made me who I am. I lived here longer than anywhere else.
I know, man, this is so crazy. We went through a lot of paint today. Yeah.
I have a bunch of spots for you with that. Great surprise.
Take a picture of the wall.
I'm gonna say this is.
Fuck the wall.
Wait. Let's go. Go fast ahead. You guys are crazy.
What actually brought me to New York was my second solo show in the United States. I was really lucky because my artworks arrived just a day before the opening. I'm used to never be on schedule, but always on time. But what was even more awesome than my stupid luck was welcoming my parents on their very first trip to America.
Not so bad.
Traveling keeps my ideas fresh, keeps me scared in a way, but I think being scared is good, or failing is good, because it allows you to do something new. So I feel like every 2 years I've kind of been refreshing myself by moving. When I was 25, I lived in Kenya for 1.5 years, and for me that was the first big place I moved to where everything was foreign, and That to me was so exhilarating that I've been chasing that feeling ever since. After Kenya, I went to Melbourne, and then from Melbourne I moved to Bangkok for a year and a half, and a similar thing happened. Bangkok is like maybe a Brooklyn of Asia. It's kind of really rough, really creative, has really awesome underground scenes. So I felt like New York has the similar grittiness, craziness, and adventure. So moving to Brooklyn from Bangkok seemed the right thing to do. I ran into Sherio by accident. I missed a flight to Indonesia and she was in Singapore doing a job. And we hung out for one day. She gave me a masturbating zombie sticker, I think it was. And I was just in love straight away. So it's like, this girl's rad, I want to take her out for dinner. So I asked her out for dinner and we went out for dinner. She gave me a tour of Singapore, showed me her first piece, and then invited me to Cambodia where she was staying. So, long story short, I kidnapped her and brought her to Brooklyn. So we've been hanging out in Brooklyn for a year and a half, 2 years now, and painting at Bushwick Collective a lot. The first year she arrived, we painted 40 walls in 1 year, because coming from Singapore, she was like, what do you mean I can just paint on any wall and there's really good spray paint readily available and cheap? So she was like an animal, just super motivated, just let me out the walls, which was great for me. I was already wanting to paint walls, but now having someone to go with you just pushes you even harder and further. And her ideas were so bonkers, it just pushed my subject matter into a different area as well. Like I would look in a sketchbook and I would be afraid for what was going on in her head. It's just some scary, nightmarish, googly-eyed fucking hot dog dudes. So I started borrowing from her style and then she would steal stuff off me and we kind of formed this weird morph style that we're running with because we love doing it and it keeps both of us fresh, and I think keeping this travel painting life going as long as we can is our goal. If we can keep that paying for itself, which currently is, then yeah, we'll be stoked to keep that alive. Yeah, we're trying to chase the endless summer, I guess. So when it starts getting cold, we'll start looking to do festivals in warmer places.
I wish my plan would go as well as the York's plan. I met up with Dexter in Copenhagen for a street art festival. And summer was just not existent in Europe at that time.
Ich meine, es ist egal, wenn da der Element drüber ist, mit Fuß irgendwie, dann kann man da nur das Knie sehen zum Beispiel. Genau. Okay, das heißt, deiner kommt dann so hoch, ne? Genau. Ja, so irgendwie, ne?
Bist du gleich schon fertig?
Ich?
Dann kannst du morgen komplett den Schwanz machen.
Ja, ich brauche schon ein bisschen da. Die ganzen Eingeweide machen.
Naja, aber morgen ist auch noch ein Tag.
The rain sucked, but it couldn't really stop us. Collaboration murals with my crew members are always fun. And the good thing is, I mostly don't have to explain much. Because we understand each other very well. Even drunk. The mixture of our styles always makes it funky.
Oh, hier die Fettcap-Sau. Voll ins Gesicht gesprayt, ey. Ja, Spray of Life.
Magst du mal von dem Ding dann da in die Farbe reinfaden?
Ich hab nur hier...
Aus dem Logo raus.
Rausfaden?
Ja, also... Geht auch in den Übergang, denke ich.
Hier rausfaden. Wir geben mir ein Fettcap. Hiervon?
Nee.
So, das Fettcap. Jetzt habe ich es verstanden. Ja, ich habe aber auch schon wieder halt 2 Bier mehr getrunken als du.
Naja, das heißt, du hast 2 Bier drin.
Nee.
is something like the hometown of our crew. So every time I go there, I feel like I come home to Vienna. And I guess this is only because of those people. Spots and walls are barely a problem, because my crew members have set it all up in advance.
Down to the wall. Your power is so divine. Oh, my delight.
Since I know so many great people there, there's barely a night, which turns out to be boring.
Oh, I hope it's not going to be one of those days. Everything just goes wrong.
With all this traveling and painting, and eating and drinking, and enjoying life, money goes fast, and of course you have to live off something. In Berlin we had the opportunity to produce a screen print. A lot of the art I produce on the road, next to painting of course, is digital. And I have my computer always with me. In this case I left the rest of the job to the printer, cause I just suck in screen printing. Plus, I had to dissect a wild boar. The fact that Berlin is full of those wild boars, what turns out to be a pain in the ass for the citizens, is probably one reason why I decided to paint one. These animals have similar problems to graffiti writers in Berlin. They are not needed and the city is full of them. So the boar kind of faces the same destiny, hunted down till Judgment Day. Another reason why I painted it is that loads of my art is somehow connected to my childhood. And as a kid I got bitten by one when I was 7. Studying and painting its anatomy kind of defaces it as an enemy. To me, it feels more like honoring the animal than destroying a life form.
Und seid ihr Graffiti-Sprayer?
Ja, manchmal.
Manchmal? Wo denn?
Hier und Mauerkarten.
Das ist mir nicht manchmal, das ist mir schon immer.
Nee, na, manchmal habe ich das Geld dafür, manchmal habe ich kein Geld dafür.
Ah ja? Früher hatte niemand Geld dafür, die haben trotzdem immer gesprüht.
Aber es macht Spaß, immer aber so und so.
Ja, ich weiß. Das macht schon ziemlich Spaß.
Ja. Ja. Viel Spaß noch, ne?
Ja.
Yeah, we are some kind of urban illustrator crew from Germany and Austria, and we are 10 people. A few of us have been very good friends for a long time now.
Some of us met in 2012 at an event in Berlin. We painted a big wall with Flying Fortress and others. And then there was a festival in Vienna, and I just took care of the artists, and then that was the starting point of first waltz.
And then at the next gathering, somewhere in Germany, the crew name was invented in a drunken night session.
The next day we painted the weird there, and that was the starting point for all of us. The crew was born out of fun because we wanted to have fun. At that point it made sense because we were all character painters. So we thought, okay, let's start a crew which only concentrates on characters and the world behind these characters.
I think the most important thing of the weird is we completely have different styles. Me, for example, I really like bold and very clean and almost like a computer graphic graffiti design or something. Someone like Rookie is painting more like real painting with oil paint and stuff like this. And it's somehow melting together, and that's what the weird crew is all about.
Schon wieder vermalt.
Become a crew was one of the most important steps in my life, because it was at a moment where I really was thinking for myself, do I really want to continue that way I took? So I always missed people to work with together. With all the weird members, there was a very special mood when we met the first time, and it was perfect for working, and it really did a lot with my philosophy about my work.
Kannst du mir in 2 Wörtern ein bisschen die Woche erklären?
Da gab's so viel. Bier und Tom hat sich den Arm gebrochen. Das war aber nicht so lustig. Also einer von uns liegt jetzt gerade im Krankenhaus. Wahrscheinlich ist er gerade aus der Narkose erwacht und wird wahrscheinlich
nie wieder malen können.
Nee. Aber sein Arm wird wahrscheinlich eingegipst sein oder wie auch immer.
Ich soll malen in 2 Tagen.
Morgen. Ich tippe auch auf Donnerstag.
Heute Nachmittag.
Das ist schon Nachmittag, es ist jetzt 16 Uhr.
Kommt gleich, dann geht's los.
So, Großmalen ist doch euer Ding. Wie geht man das an?
Planung und viel Geld. Ja, der Witz ist, eigentlich ist die Herangehensweise gar nicht so unterschiedlich zu einer kleinen Illustration. Es ist halt alles von der Dimension entsprechend größer. Ja, und das kostet dann halt auch. Wenn man jetzt hier 1000 Dosen hinstellt, nur wenn man eine Wand malen will, das ist nicht so, das kann man am Computer alles so wunderschön innerhalb von 2 Tagen illustrieren und wie auch immer, kostet dich keinen Cent. Aber eben so eine Riesenwand ist halt wirklich kostspielig. Und das ist halt natürlich irgendwie eine super Sache, dass wir jetzt hier so eine Möglichkeiten haben. Also das ist natürlich schon eine Herausforderung, als Gruppe mit 10 Menschen auf einen Konsens zu kommen, zusammenzuarbeiten. Andererseits ist es natürlich auch, wenn ein bestimmtes Niveau erreicht ist, die Herausforderung, also das wirklich gerade voranzutreiben. Denn das ist ja auch das Einzigartige, das gibt es nicht so oft in der Welt. Wirklich 10 Menschen mit dem Niveau, was die Arbeit angeht. Deswegen sind wir halt auch neugierig, wo es hingeht. Weil ich doch schon wieder drüber ein Glas Champagner will.
Niveauvolle Menschen.
Also eine Farbe auswählen für mich immer sehr, sehr schwer. Meine Fresse.
I think all of us are coming from an era where you learned through really old school graffiti the roots, where it all comes from. So starting in the mid or late 90s, it was a quite different thing than wall painting right now is. One thing that is very obvious is it became much more illustrative, so people very often start already with painting characters and figurative stuff.
Slow and silent, the water flow down in the blue. Trickling out, my memory goes down in the glue. Draining all life's eagerness down in the glue. Lost in sweet forgetfulness down. Drop my being is forgot. Drip by drip, my sleep will slowly slip. Drop by drop, my
Luxembourg, I think, was pretty nice. The whole Weir crew came together, and that's not really often. Like, we try to do it like 1 or 2 times a year. We always enjoy these super large paintings, like painting a whole supermarket inside. It's difficult because you're 10 people and it's very, very huge, and you have to really make compromises. We painted the weird dreams, and every one of us painted some dreams they had before. So it was a nice mixture of very surreal stuff and very cartoony and funny things that happened.
Yeah, we had another funny concept this time, like little islands of dreams flying around on the walls. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was really a nice concept because you could do your own stuff, but it just works together. The crew is growing together now. We are getting one person.
Sweet dreams are made of these.
Oh, gehst du weg hier?
Oha!
Miami during Art Basel is off the hook. Hundreds of urban artists and graffiti writers from all around the world are coming to town. Which means you gotta be fast and hunt for your walls. But if this is set, you're ready to rock. Wynwood District is kinda like that during the year, but in December it has a crazy amount of visitors that mainly go to art fairs and watch people paint in the streets. It turns into complete mayhem, and all the murals function as advertisement for our art.
When you walk through a street, you see billboard, ad, lawyer, sue this person. And when we create murals, people go, what is that? Well, I don't know what that is, and I don't get it. And I may not like it. But because we're so programmed with commercial advertisement, all these things that are forced into our psyche, and then boom, you break the mold, and you put up this wild mural that you can't necessarily decipher. You don't even know why it's there. And most people can't even comprehend why somebody would do that. And then why they would do it for free? I mean, it's just like blows people away.
I mean, my parents came here from the Philippines and they knew that they couldn't provide the opportunities for their kids, and they settled in the Bronx, and that's where I was born and raised. Knowing what they gave up to come here to a foreign country, I wouldn't be an artist if I was living in the Philippines.
Just growing up, I traveled the world a lot, and I felt really lucky to do that. I was a new kid, went to a lot of different schools, and my art was kind of all I had. So it was something that I clung to really tightly to understand who I was as a person. And around 10 years ago, started a toy company called Kid Robot. And that's the first time that I really started to get connected to artists everywhere. And they're all doing the same thing you're doing. So any city you go to, you know someone who can take you to paint somewhere. It's like the graffiti Underground Railroad. Not everyone kind of gets what your lifestyle is like, so it's kind of nice to be around those people to understand it. And it's cool, you get to travel, paint for livings, very lucky thing.
Okay, buddy, let me see your hand. Let me see your hand. Put the cans down. Get your ass up again. Look. Keep an eye on everybody down the street. You got it covered? Keep it moving there. Keep it moving. I think guys just come over here.
It's dark, cold, inhospitable. There are also craters,
It almost looks as if the atmosphere is frozen.
Shall we send a probe, Captain?
No, I was thinking of landing on the planet. Jack, is the landing module in working condition?
The module's working perfectly, Captain. And it'll be much easier to repair that faulty generator if we're on firm ground.
All crew members to your stations. Prepare for landing.
Let's go, baby.
In the report.
It's nitty, I'm too fly. Spaceship fool, attempting to fly by and buzz my co-pilot, burn me like ultraviolet rays. Ask about me, they be going for days. Like
He's talking about the greatest brain ever made by man.
And I just got back from Saturn. I'm intergalactic, you can check the pattern. And I'm all jeweled up like the rings on Saturn. If you want to know the secret, just ask me. If others tell you no, go, Joe, I'll say
exactly.
So please get at me with no hesitation.
With proper procedure, it might have prevented this situation.
So come fly with me. We hit hyperdrive, we doing a $150. And you can't win, you don't stand a chance.
Your arrogance was well known in advance.
For myself, Art Basel appears to be the biggest birthday party you can imagine. And the best recovery is actually to fly straight to Hawaii a few weeks later to escape the European winter. And again, to do nothing else than painting walls with my friends from all over the world.
We like to do this tour called the Holo Holo Hawaii. And basically what that is, we want to expose people to the history of Hawaii and more about the place that they're painting in. We also hope that it can help to inspire some of the artists to sort of think about how their art may affect Hawaii people or affect local people here.
Prime and Estria really do a lot of goodwill by taking us out into these areas, showing us and telling us and teaching us about what these rocks mean. They say don't touch the rocks until you state your intentions. And really what that comes to is, what are our intentions? They teach you about how ancient Hawaiians loved the land and saw that there was energy and power in every object, inanimate or alive. It really shows you that when you're going to approach your wall, state your intention and execute your intention. And that's what this island taught us.
I would go for that too.
Somewhere over the rainbow.
Yeah, we found it. Here it is, in a cup.
Hawaii has always been a very strategic military spot for the American government. And during that time, they also built a lot of lookout points, bunkers, and military facilities to be prepared for any sort of attack. Their second life has been as painting spots for people. What's amazing is that a lot of them are in jungles or up hikes or up mountains, and they make for some amazing views and some amazing opportunities to paint on walls that you would never get anywhere else in the world. So they're more or less like secret, but whenever people come to Hawaii, we try to take them to these places because they're just amazing to paint in. Yeah.
Roller control. I got roller control.
Fucking mosquitoes are now here. Shit.
It's like I'm on a new chapter in my life. I've just turned, 40 years old, and I've been painting consistently for a long time. And for years, actually for decades, I worked in the skateboard industry. I always seemed to be working for someone else, but at the same time, it allowed me to moonlight as an artist, or as a graffiti artist, traveling and painting and networking.
Come back to me. Come back to me. Magic.
It got to a point where probably had done it too long and dedicated too much energy into it, but because of it, I've been able to experience so much. And now I'm at a point where I feel like I'm really hitting a stride in my own art career. So it's exciting.
It was my second time on Oahu, Hawaii, and I really enjoyed it the year before. But I didn't get to explore the island much. I always wanted to paint in places not many people get to. But if someone does, he might find my piece. In those 3 weeks, I was fully dedicated to leave my mark. Staying in a house directly on the beach, together with all the other artists and our homies from Detroit, was pretty much the pole position to exchange and work on some ideas for the upcoming event.
Anyone interested in a scramble or some eggs or something like that?
If you're making it, I would absolutely have it.
Cool, im Burrow die sitzen und den Teufel malen, gell?
When a group of artists converge on one location, it's actually a really beautiful and amazing experience because you get these 2 weeks to spend an intimate amount of time every day. Good morning, good night. Wow, your mural's progressing. You know, there'll be groups of people doing murals in different cities around the world, but there's not a cohesive festival that brought this many artists together until Powwow Hawaii came together. Really what's happening with Powwow is so intense. I've never seen anything quite like it.
He is fucking pissed.
Gotta go for a dip. His legs probably taste pretty good.
I've always been a fan of Nitrous' work, but also at the same time, I know that his work could be controversial because it could be perceived differently. During Powwow 2013, Nitrous did a collaborative mural with Jeff Soto, and he painted a shark, and the shark was dissected. And there was nothing negative about it. And Hawaiian people see sharks as spirit animals, as amakuas. And they thought that we were painting a mural with like their spirit animal being killed, when in fact it wasn't, it was being honored. And so it was it was really at the end of the day just a miscommunication. But it was also great because it kind of opened people's eyes to shark finning to a degree, and it also made people think about how different things are being conceived in different parts of the world. It was more just a cultural divide, and no one had any bad intentions at the end of the day.
I really like that idea, like the power of the image more than like the thing itself. So that's why I've been painting ice cream a lot, you know, because professional photos of ice cream are amazing. You know, they call it food porn. Like, these photos are so awesome, and the experience of looking at the photo is actually better than the experience of eating the ice cream.
Classical bubble letter style. My name Coke. I did this like all over the subways and all over the streets of New York. So as I got older and older, it became something kind of like a pop art symbol. It's kind of crazy to say I used to do this illegal in the streets as a kid, but now I make a living off this.
So all in all, what we did is we did something that was very positive for the community. We did something that fulfilled ourselves internally, and we're able to just like have a good time. And that was really what is at the core of what we do as independently minded beings that don't really have day jobs, but we work our ass off. And to have an opportunity to go anywhere we want in the world at any time and meet people that have the same belief system in freedom, and not walk around with the chains of the corporate world, which says that you need a bank account and you need 2.5 cars and you need 3.5 kids and you need a white picket fence. That, to me, is what really embodies the spirit of the artist. When you walk through the streets of Kaka'ako and you see V-Hills, Buff Monster, Insa, Inti, Dabs Mila, you know, you're just like, wow, man, it's like so mind-blowing. Ron English could be around the corner and then they're all together. Like, who would think that when guys were reading graffiti mags, that they would be sitting at dinner with Martha Cooper? Really, if Martha Cooper didn't catch the subway trains and Coke 2 didn't paint them, and guys like Persuade didn't catch that on the West Coast, there's a whole new breed of artists that are now emerging from that core underground culture. And I would say that across the board, why all these artists are able to get along like old friends is because we all come from a counterculture background. Whether it's skate, surf, graffiti, tattoos, punk rock, everybody comes from counterculture. That's why we are funneling that into this creative spirit that now lives in the public domain. And then you just walk through Kaka'ako and you're like, these are all people that buck the system. The voice of an artist is really only allowed to exist in a gallery. And that no longer exists anymore because we've broken all the rules and we've said we're going to do it our way. And that's what Powwow Hawaii is really all about.
Suddenly, you find yourself back home. After all this traveling, filled with crazy memories. And a year has gone. And it's winter again. And life's quiet. I couldn't even go back to that spot for taking a photo of that piece I got chased off the year before. I'm praying that it's still there in its full shine. That's the point you realize how intense your year has been. And how much has actually happened. And you're fucking grateful for that experience. But it's not over. Another year has just begun. And I will keep going as long as I can, because I love what I do. I guess this is what my life has developed to. There will be more journeys, more cities, more systems to explore. All I have to do is to follow the white rabbit, and you can follow me into the deepest depths of the Burrow.
The people stare at me, they cannot believe what they see is real, an image of the dead. Oh, my loved one, can you hear my call? I am your ghost, watching your every step. I didn't want to leave. Demon, you thought were evil, that didn't make you be. Too late to say I'm sorry, I wake but yet asleep. I know I was so cruel, nothing ran through my veins.
Attack mich nie wieder von der Seite.
Hier laufen Kinder rum. Wieso? Das ist kein Gewalt, das ist Krieg. Das ist kein Gewalt. Brennende Kinder kommen immer schrecken.
Das müssen wir mal fixen. Brennende Kinder.
Das ist ja schon bunt genug.
I'm gonna try and paint his patch with nichos. I seen your shirt when I came down the boardwalk. It was Iron Maiden, so I came over there.
I am your ghost, watching your every step. I didn't want to leave. I was your demon.
Das doch gar nicht raus, Mann.
Warum nicht?
Hagarino.
Thank you. It's on me.